Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome back to today's Daf Yomi, which is Maseches Yevamos Daf Gimel. We are holding 5 lines from the top of the Amud. We're actually in the midst of a discussion regarding the Mishnah. You see, the Mishnah began with the following sentence. Chamesh Esrei Nashim, the following 15 Arayos, who happened to be married to his brother, his departed brother, the one who passed away without children. So now Shimon, the surviving brother, is meant to be the Yavam. Typically, he's meant to marry Reuven's wife, who is now the Yevama. But if she happens to be Asur on Shimon, for a different reason altogether, Reuven, his departed brother, happened to be married to Shimon, his brother with whom he shares a father, happened to be married to Shimon's daughter, which is fine. Now Reuven passes away. Shimon's wife, Shimon's surviving wife, the Yevama, has a problem. She can't marry Shimon. She's his daughter. She's his mother-in-law. Or one of the other 15 arayas. The halacha of Yibum doesn't apply. It only applies strictly to a sister-in-law, the wife of one's departed brother, provided that's all she is. But if she's more than that, she happens to be a relative from a different side, for a different reason, a daughter, mother-in-law, sister-in-law, she's asur on him. And not only is she asur, but she's poitritzer, saying those women will exempt themselves and their tzoris as well, the other wife, the fellow wife, with whom they were together with whom they were married to Reuven. The tzor is also exempt from Yibum. So her Isser extends over to the fellow wife as well, and that wife will now in turn affect another tzara. Should she proceed to marry a different brother, that tzara is now considered an erva, because she was affected by the first erva. It's contained, it just keeps on going, it carries on, v'tzara tzara saying, and so on and so forth, min ha'chalitza, min ha'yibum, they're exempt from all the halachas of Yibum, chalitza and Yibum, atzev ha'olam, until the end of the line. Why is it tzara considered like an erva? The answer is because once the erva is asur liyibum, so we have Reuven and Shimon. Reuven passed away without children. Reuven was married to Rachel and Leah. Rachel happens to be Shimon's daughter, so Rachel is not fit for Yibum. And since she's in the same household as Leah, the other wife, that Leah is also unfit from Yibum. Yibum applies to the entire household as one. Yibum doesn't apply to one Isha, doesn't apply to the other one. They're both exempt. And now Leah assumes the status, she reverts to the status of an ordinary, regular sister-in-law. Right? To Shimon, she's just a sister-in-law. After all, that's what Yevama is. She's his brother's wife, which is typically asur when she would have children. But since she doesn't have children, there's a special heter, a special exemption to the rule. She's now a Yevama rather than an erva. But once she becomes pater from Yibum, why is Leah pater from Yibum? She's not an erva to Shimon, because Rachel was an erva to Shimon. Rachel was Shimon's daughter, and she affects the entire household. There's no Yibum in this household. Now Leah is an ordinary sister-in-law. She's an erva. So now when she marries a different brother, who happened to have another wife, and that brother passes away, just as Leah is an erva on Shimon, so is that other woman, so on and so forth. Now the Gemara was wondering why the Mishnah chose to list all these arayos in the exact order which it chose to do that. Why is Bitay first, etc., etc.? So the Gemara began with the kasha. Really, Achais Isha, his wife's sister, that should be number one. You know why? Because that provides a source for this whole entire concept that an erva is pater from Yibum. How do we know that a sister-in-law who happens to be his daughter as well is pater from Yibum? The Gemara coming up soon, Be'ez Hashem, will tell us. We learn it from Achais Isha, where there's a special pasuk that explains to us that there's no heter by Yibum if she is an Achais Isha. So when the Mishnah is introducing this concept that an erva cannot be a Yevama, there's no mitzvah Yibum by an erva, shouldn't we provide the source first? Achais Isha is the source. The Gemara responded, well, we're working with a different set of priorities. Actually, we like to mentioned first something which was learned from a drasha. Bitoi kivan de asya midrasha chavivale. The entire isser of bitoi, Rashi says, bitoi manusasa, a forced relationship, not your typical bitoi from his wife, but bitoi manusasa. How do we know that there's an isser? Why is that an erva? We learn it from a drasha, Teresh Baal Peh, and something which was introduced by the Chacham has special dearness, a product of our effort. Asya midrasha chavivale, and that's why bitoi comes number one. Continues the Gemara 5 lines from the top. I'll give my Aleph. Ha ashta de amris. Now that you just told me, kol milsa de asya midrasha chavivale. Bitoi, since it's learned from a drasha, that has special chavivus. It's especially dear, and that comes first. Listni lachos isha basoif. If so, achos isha, which is really the source material for the concept that an erva is patur from yibum, which is really the topic of the Mishnah, shouldn't that come at the end? That's a pasuk. That's not drasha. Have everything come first, and then achos isha at the end, because everything learns from achos isha. Everything is learned from drasha. That's chaviv to us. And then the source material at the end, achos isha, number 15. So we're dealing with two different concepts. The concept of an erva to begin with, and the concept that an erva is patur from yibum. When it comes to the concept of the erva to begin with, bitoi is number one because we don't even know she's asr unless we learn it from a drasha. That comes first. At the same time, aren't we discussing the concept of patur yibum by an erva? And in that sense, achos isha is a source. It's beferish in the pasuk. That should come number 15, because everything else is learned from a drasha. That is a patur yibum by an erva. We learn it from achos isha. So drasha comes before something which was explicitly articulated in the pasuk. Answers the Gemara, you're right. The reason why it's not so is because aidi de ayri be'isr achvasa. Once the Mishnah speaks about sisters and sisterhoods and achos imoy and achos amei imoy, so we just put in achos ishtoi, which is a matching situation. So the Mishnah speaks about sister-related relationships, and therefore we put achos isha right there. We speak about sisterhood relationship. Tana achos ishtoi. So we put achos ishta in there in the list of arayis related to the sister concept. Okay, so let's cut and paste. Let's take the entire clause discussing sisters and put it at the end, so that achos ishta ends at the end. Ella says, the more you're right. Let's leave that whole factor aside. Drasha, chavivas, that's not the reason. That's not the basis for the order in the Mishnah. Rather, the Mishnah is following a different order. Ela tana kurvi nakat. The ones that are more karev, that are more personal, relatives which are more personal, they go first. Tana bitoi bas benoi. So we start with those three: daughter, daughter's daughter, son's daughter, the krevi atzmi, because they're his personal relatives. They're closest to him. They're his offspring. So that's the closest karev. And once we discuss 3 deiros of his offspring, so we jump over to her. Tananami shleisha deiros lamata dida, her deiros, her offspring, her daughter, her granddaughter, etc. So we adopt the matching system. Once we discussed 3 deiros coming from her, it jumped above to 3 deiros above the isha. So we're speaking about her mother, her grandmother. So that's how we got to this point. So we used a matching sequence, which of course aids in memory. So that's why we followed this Seder until this point. Okay, let's go further. So once we got past the immediate relatives, offspring, parents, we move on to his sister. His mother's sister, because they're his personal relatives. Although they're a bit removed, they're not his offspring, those parents, but it's still his personal relatives. So it's relatively closer than the ones that are following afterwards. Once we got involved with rights relating to sisters, right? His sister, his mother's sister, so we threw in Tanach, his Ishta, we threw in his wife's sister as well. Okay, so that explains the Seder Mishnah. We're going with the levels of closeness. We start with the most personal relatives, and we'll proceed in that order. Ubedinu delicta malakalos. Now, once we got to this point, we're done with personal relatives. Right? Blood relatives are over. Now we're up to relatives via marriage. Daughter-in-law, Eshes Achav Shloye Beilamai, which means a sister-in-law, his brother's wife, who he didn't see. They weren't living at the same time. So here we have an erva, which is marriage related. We have Eshes Achav Mi'imai, right? His the wife of his brother with whom he shares a mother. Again, it's a marriage related erva. So these are no longer his blood relatives. So we don't have that factor any longer. So how are we going to space the following relatives? It would seem we should adopt another formula, as Rashi explains. Let's advance the ones that are more severe, more strict, the ones that have a more severe punishment related to them. So in that case, really daughter-in-law should come before Mikami Eshes Achav Shloi Beilamai, before the Eshes Achav Shloi Beilamai. You know why? Rashi says because Kalasai has skila involved. So that should come before the other arayos, which have a different penalty. So Kalasai really deserves to be first. The lav mishum kurva hudasira, because we're no longer placing them, we're no longer staggering them based on closeness, because we're not speaking about blood relatives any longer. So we should just go with the level of einish associated with these arayos, and Kalasai should come first. Oh, says the Gemara, Ella, I'll tell you the reason. Ella aidi da ayri b'isa achva. So once we discussed isurim that are related to siblings, I spoke about sister-in-law, isur achva related to siblings. So we carry on and we go over to Tana Eshes Achav Shloi Beilamai, wife of his brother, Shloi Beilamai, who wasn't in his world, meaning they didn't live together at the same time. He was born after his brother passed away. So that's on the same topic. It's a similar type of erva, something connected to siblings, to brothers, to sisters. So that comes first. And only then, Vahada Tana Kalasai, we move on to daughter-in-law, which is really unrelated to sibling relationships. Okay, so now we have it down packed. Initially, the Mishnah followed the seder of closeness of Kravim, his offspring, her offspring, etc. All at the end, we worked with the Isser Achvasa, concluded with Kalasai, which has none of these. It's not his personal relative, it's nothing to do with siblings. So that's the last one on the list. Okay. Now the Gemara is going to focus on that opening statement. Chamesh Esrei Noshim, Poiter Yitzir Sein, B'Tzir Yitzir Sein. V'Nachalitzim Nayibu. Umay area the ton of Poitris. Why did the Mishnah choose the Lashon Poitris? Listening Eisres. Poitris really can sound, perhaps it can sound like they're pater from Yibum. There's no chiyuv, but if you want, you can. Which of course is erroneous. It's untrue. Because once a sister-in-law is pater from Yibum, she's a regular erva. She's a sister-in-law. So that's misleading. The word poiter is misleading. It should have said, listening Eisres. She's Asr, and she extends that Isser to her Tzara as well. There's Isser involved. And says the Gemara, Itana Eisres, if the Mishnah would have chose the word Eisres, Hava Mina, I would think perhaps Asr Leyabim. You may not. May not what? May not marry. Ava Michlitz Chaltza. But Chalitza, you should do. Well, what's wrong with doing Chalitza? You're not marrying her. Why can't you do Chalitza to an Erva? So although you can't marry, but Chalitza you meant to do, don't let her go without anything. Kamash Malan says the Mishnah Poitres, which means she's not in the parish of Yibum at all, pertaining to Yibum or to Chalitza. Okay, so if that's the point, to tell you that she's potter from all the the various elements of Yibum and Chalitza, and the Mishnah should just say, "L'snei asur lachlit." She may not do Chalitza. And once we know she may not do Chalitza, then of course she can't do Yibum, which means actual marriage. So use just simple language, brief, simple language. Why do you say Poitros min Chalitza? Just say she's also to have Chalitza, which indicates that she's totally out of the parsha. She may not partake in any procedure related to Yibum, whether it's Chalitza or Yibum. But that doesn't work. Why? Well, it's misleading. Micah of it. How could you say she cannot do Chalitza? What's wrong with doing Chalitza? It's not marriage. So let's say she doesn't have to pull off that shoe and she does it anyway. There's no Isser. How could you say Asur Lachlitz? Therefore the Mishnah did not pick that Lashon. Allah Malloy says, well, why can't you say Asur Lachlitz? If she's not meant to do Chalitza, she may not do Chalitza. You know why? Because if you allow it to do Chalitza, or you're required to do Chalitza, you know what can happen next time? Next time, a person will say, well, let's do a Yibum. He won't differentiate. So it is true that an Erva may not do Chalitza to avoid any sort of false impressions here. So Asur Lachlitz is a correct term to use. So why didn't the Mishnah use it? Why did the Mishnah say Poitros instead of Oisros? Answers the Gemara. You know why? The Mishnah was trying to make a point. The Mishnah was trying to put into context. You know why the Tzara is rejected from Yibum in this case? That's because she fell, so to speak, together with the Yevamos. Their husband passed away. And at that point they were potential Yevamos, potential candidates for Yibum. And at that point, since one of them is an Erva, the other one is Pater as well and becomes Asur. Because she's a regular sister-in-law. Right? Once Yibum is off the table, she's considered a standard Erva sister-in-law. So that only applies in this type of case. B'makei mitzvah, when they're both married to a brother. So now to the surviving brother, they're both considered arayis. Even the tzara is a sister-in-law. And that's why she becomes an erva, and then she affects her tzara as well, all the way down the line. That's what the Mishnah is trying to teach us. But let's say it's a non-Yibum situation. So you have Shimon, whose daughter is married to a total stranger. Let's call him Yehuda. This Yehuda has another wife, right? That other wife is not considered a tzaras erva, and if somehow in the future she should present herself as a potential Yibum candidate, potential Yevama to Shimon, somehow, she's mutter, she's not a tzaras erva because she wasn't together with an erva in a Yibum circumstance. Right? So she's just a strange woman. She has no Isser of tzaras erva. This tzaras erva concept only applies because they both presented themselves as potential Yevamos in a Yibum context, meaning they were both married to his brother. And since the erva is pater from Yibum, the tzara as well becomes pater. Now she becomes an erva because she's a plain, simple sister-in-law. That's what the Mishnah is trying to point out to us. It's not just that an erva affects her tzara. The erva exempts her tzara, who now turns into a regular sister-in-law, and that's why she assumes the status of an erva. The only reason why the tzara is asa because she was together with the erva in a mitzvah circumstance, in a mitzvah context, in a Yibum context. They were both married to his brother. But if it's in a non-mitzvah context, she happens to be married to a stranger, together with that erva. Sharia. In the future, if she presents herself to you for Yibum to this Shimon brother, she's not a tzaras erva. That's what the Mishnah chooses this lashon, this precise lashon. I.e., in a Yibum context, meaning when erva and fellow wife were married to a brother who passes away, not only is the erva pater or aser, she exempts her tzara as well, who now turns into an erva because she's a regular sister-in-law going forward. She's not a Yevam, she's considered a regular sister-in-law. And she's an Erva. And that's why it carries on to the next one, because the Tsaris Erva has now been renamed, retagged, has assumed an inherent Shem Erva. This concept you can only derive from the Lashon HaMishnah, the way it was presented. We're speaking about a case of Chiv and Tur, case of Mitzvah, a case where the wolf married to Shimon's brother. That's why this happens. Okay, that behind us, let's continue. Why does the Mishnah have to trouble itself to go through both types of, both elements of the Mitzvah, Min HaChalitza, Min HaYibum? Listen, Min HaYibum Chodei. Why can't the Mishnah just say she's Pata from Yibum? If the Mishnah would only say that, perhaps I would say Michlatz Chalza. Yevumi loy miyabim, although Yibum she can't do, she's an Erva, she's a Tzaras Erva, but Chalitza she should do. Kamashmon, the Chiddush is no. There is no Chalitza as well. Why? You see, Yibum and Chalitza are two sides of a coin. You want to address the nifter in an appropriate way, carry on his marriage, take over his wife. It's either one or the other. Either Yibum or Chalitza. You can't have one without the other. That's the Chiddush HaMishnah. Although we want to do something. No. There's no Yibum, there's no Chalitza. Yibum, any Isha who presents itself to Bezdin for Yibum, Oilal Chalitza will do the same thing when it comes to Chalitza. Because She'eina Oilal Yibum, if an Isha is not a candidate for Yibum, Eina Oilal Chalitza, she's not a candidate for Chalitza as well. Let's go over to Rashi, 5 lines from the bottom. 6 lines. Why didn't the Mishnah just cite Yibum? The Ikar Mitzvah. That's the Ikar Mitzvah. That's the preferred route to take. The Chalitza Miltir Mishtama. Once she's put from Yibum, you know. By default, that is a Ptur Chalitza as well. Why does the Mishnah have to express them both? No, I would say Hava Mina Michlas Chaltza. Although there's no Yibum, but maybe Chalitza you should do. Shaloi Lafki Mitzvahs Yibum. You don't want to cancel Mitzvahs Yibum altogether. But okay, Yibum you can't do. We have a pasuk, we're going to see soon. But Chalitza maybe. Kamashma, here comes the Chiddush. Mas Nisan Hoilo Patra Bas. Mezikas Yibum, since the Erva, in this case Shimon's daughter, affected the Tzara and took away the Zikas Yibum, her commitment to Yibum. Paturim and Chalitza, she's exempt from all the mitzvahs from Chalitza as well. Because we follow this set formula. The kala oilo lezikas yibum, oilo lezikas chalitza. If you're connected to yibum, you're connected to chalitza. V'chol she'ein oilo lezikas yibum p'tur min chalitza. If you don't have yibum, you don't have chalitza. True, one is a chatchila, one is the other, but they're both two sides of the same coin. V'kalechad amrin acholetzes v'misabemes mishmas feiko. Rashi asks, we do find elsewhere that there is a din chalitza without yibum. That's not standard. That's not the actual requirement. Generally speaking, where it's a suffix, not sure whether she's going to have yibum, whether she's allowed to have yibum, so we do chalitza to avoid any shaila, to cover all the bases. But in concept, this principle doesn't apply. There's no concept of chalitza without yibum. That's the Chiddush HaMishnah. Continues the Gemara, 4 lines from the bottom. Okay, so you want to tell me about both yibum and chalitza. If you're listening, Mina Yibum, Mina Chalitza. Wouldn't it be better if we'd say Yibum first? That's the preferred route. She's potter from Yibum, and then say Chalitza. Inami, or you can say Mina Chalitza L'chodah. Mishnah should just say she's potter from Chalitza, which automatically means that she's potter from Yibum as well. And says the Gemara, Abasholi, our Mishnah is following Shittas Abashol, the Amar Mitzvahs Chalitza Kodemes, the Mitzvahs Yibum. Abashol holds, in contrast to the Chachamim, who hold that one is meant to choose Yibum over Chalitza. That's the preferred route. That's the L'chatchila. Abashol holds differently. He holds that Mitzvah Chalitza comes first. We want to see in Rashi. Why? So that's what the Mishnah is trying to teach us. Chalitza is the first route. That's the preferred track. That's why the Mishnah mentioned both. And mentioned Chalitza first, to indicate that Chalitza comes first. So it's just a side point, which we learn right here. Let's go over to Rashi. 2 lines from the bottom. Abasholi. Let's go back to 3 lines from the bottom. Nisni Yibum Bereisha, right? Back to the Kasha. Why isn't Yibum first? Because really that's the Ikar, the Hu Ikar. If you don't want to be Miyabim, the Chaltza, they do Chalitza. What does that sound like? It sounds like Yibam comes first. Ha'im chafetz liyabam yabam. Alma mitzvah sibim berish. And says the Gemara, no, Abba Shaul. He reverses it. Abba Shaul Eimer, hakoynis yivamte l'shem noi l'shem ishus. He holds that Yibam is no ordinary marriage. It's isha hiknu l'mer shamayim, a special opportunity to be miyabim ishus achiv, that has to be done with the proper intentions, with purity. L'shem shamayim. If there's any other interest or factor involved here, it throws it off. Hakoynis yivamte l'shem noi. She's attractive, l'shem ishus. Other interests, kilu pageh be'erva. It's as though he's marrying a regular erva, sister-in-law. It has to be l'shem shamayim. The Gemara in Kedushin Daf Bezim Beis says the Yevamos is isha hiknu loy min hashamayim. It's a heavenly shidduch, heavenly marriage. V'karev be'inai liyas havlad mamzer. Abba Shaul says I almost consider it like a mamzer. If we have a child born from a Yivam which is not done with pure intentions, and therefore Abba Shaul holds, you know what? Don't take chances. Really, try for chalitza before Yivam. And that's the point of our Mishnah as well. Chalitza u'min haYivam. Okay, so we figured out the reason for these lashonos, which were chosen by the Mishnah. Now we have one more shaila. What about the numbers? We could just count them up. Why does the Mishnah have to say 15? And also at the end, the Mishnah says Hari Elu, all these, which indicates that we're trying to exclude others, other types of situations, other types of Yevamos. Don't think they're included. No, they're excluded. They're not going to affect their tzaras. What do we have in mind? Minyana de Reisha, lemut in mind. The number cited at the outset of the Mishnah. What are we trying to exclude? What are we taking out of the list? Uminyana de Sefer lemut in mind, and the Lashon Hari Elu, which denotes only these 15. We'll have this din of poitros tzeresein. What are we coming to exclude and to leave out? Lemut de Rav or de Ravasi. See, Rav holds that a tzoras soita is also asur, which means that if an isha acted inappropriately and then she turns into a yavama, she's asur to the yavam and it affects her tzara as well. That's Rav Shita, and Ravasi says that idleness, an isha cannot give birth, she has the same halacha. We're going to see that Bez Hashem later on in the parak. So they hold that even these nashim have this type of concept that they are pater and they affect their tzuras. So we don't hold to that. They don't belong in our list. Limutid the Rav or the Ravasi. Okay, that works according to us, but according to them, meaning Rav and Ravasi, they consider these nashim to be like any other erva. So what does the Mishnah mean to exclude? Limut l'Rav or the Ravasi. Limut imai. What is the Mishnah trying to exclude? Answers the Gemara like this: Isvirlu dehadadi. If Rav holds of Rav Asi's case that a tzuras islandness is ptura, and likewise Rav Asi holds of Rav that a tzuras soita is pater. Evidently, the Mishnah is not coming to exclude those. Okay, so we have to find other cases which we are trying to exclude. Chad l'muti tzuras ma'anis. So we have two exclusions in the Mishnah. Right? We have the number at the beginning, 15 and no more. We have Hari Elu, only these and no more. So one miyut is l'muti tzuras ma'anis. Again, we're going to see this later on in the parak. Just briefly, we're speaking about a ketana who happens to be married to his brother who passed away without children. So she's pater from Yibam and her tzara as well. That's one potential case of tzara. Let's say Reuven, the parted brother, remarried his wife after having married somebody else, which is of course an isser. So she's not allowed to remarry once she remarries. That's machzor grushasa, and that's she's considered like an erva. She may not go ahead and be mesiyabem by shima now, and it affects her tzara as well. So that's perhaps a svara, that's perhaps a shita. No, the Mishnah is telling you these nashim don't have this halacha. They don't affect their tzaras. So one miyut is to be mayit ma'anes, and one is to be mayit machzor grushasa. V'lo yisvirlu da'adadi. Alternatively, if Rav and Ravasi don't hold of each other's halacha, then we have a much more simple answer to our question. You see, let's say if Rav holds that tzuras soita asura, but he doesn't agree with Rav Asi that tzuras islandness is asura. Likewise, Rav Asi doesn't hold of tzuras soita asura. They don't hold of each other. They hold only of their own case, not each other's. If that's the case, chad l'mutid dechavrei. So we have two miyutim in the Mishnah. One is going to exclude his colleague's case. That doesn't conform, that doesn't qualify as a tzara serva. V'chad l'mu'utei oitzaras ma'anas, oitzaras ma'aseh grishasa, and the other miyut in the Mishnah will apply to either one of these two cases, either oitzaras ma'anas or the ma'aseh grishasa. They don't qualify, they don't belong in the Mishnah. One more kasha. L'Rav l'Rav Asi lisninu. According to Rav and Rav Asi, we have more cases which really belong on the list in the Mishnah. For instance, according to Rav Asi, Tzoras Soita is also. Why isn't that in the Mishnah? According to Rav Asi, Tzoras Ma'anas is also. Why isn't that in the Mishnah? You're right. You're right. It really belongs in the Mishnah. But there is one element that we find in the Mishnah that doesn't apply to them, and therefore we didn't put it into the Mishnah. Because in both these cases, Soita and Eilinus, Soita and Eilinus. So in both these cases, we don't have Tzoras Tzara. Let's just refresh again. What does Tzoras Tzara mean? We have Reuven and Shimon. Reuven passes away, no children. He left behind two wives. Shimon, the surviving brother, is the Yavam. Now, let's say Reuven was married to a Saita. Right? She's straight, she came back, he's really usher to live with her. So she's a Saita. And the other wife, right, she's Rachel, the other wife, Leah, is now a Tzoras Saita. Now, the halacha here is that they're both asur. According to Rav, that a Tzoras Saita is asur. So they're both asur on Shimon. Shimon may not marry either one, not the Saita or the Tzoras Saita. Let's say Shimon doesn't marry. Okay, he follows the rules. There's another brother on the scene, Levi. Can he go ahead and marry Leah, the Tzoras Saita of Reuven? No. It's not just a personal Isser on Shimon. It's not his personal Elver. There's something wrong here. She's a Saita, and that affects the Torah as well. For whatever reason. We're going to see later on in the parak. That's an all-encompassing Isser. It affects all the brothers equally. You see, it's very different than Tzoras Bita. Because Bita is a personal Isser on Shimon. It's his daughter. Tzoras Bita is his daughter's Tzara. But let's say there's another brother on the scene. He can marry either one of these Nashim, Rachel or Leah. They have no relationship to him, other than being a sister-in-law, which is the Yevamos, which is the mother. So in that case, if another brother comes along and is miyavin, the Tzara of Shimon's daughter, that's fine. But now the other brother passes away, and he left behind two wives. One is the Tzara of Shimon's daughter, which is really a Tzaras Erev on Shimon, and another wife, together with that. They're both Asr on Shimon because it's a Tzaras Erev on him. This applies to all the Arayos in the Mishnah, which are personal to Shimon. The Tzara can go and marry a different brother, and then we're running into Tzaras Tzara, or Tzara, as many steps as you take. That's because it's a personal Isra on Shimon. There's nothing holding back Levi or Yehuda from marrying those Nashim. That's how we can develop Tzara, etc. But when it comes to a site, when it comes to islandness, it's unrelated to Shimon. That's a concern that applies to all the brothers equally. And when Reuven passes away, leaving behind such a situation, nobody's allowed to protect, nobody's allowed to do Yibum here. So we never get to the point of Tzara. There's no hemshach, there's no continuity here. It just stays as is. That's why the Mishnah didn't include it in the Mishnah. We're speaking about types of cases where it could expand and extend, as opposed to these two, which are limited and never end up being a tzara. Okay, let's get down to basics. The Mishnah tells us that the erva doesn't have yibum, and the tzaras erva as well. How do we know this to be true? Tana Rabbanan, we learned in the Brayse, Isha lachois lesikach litzra legalois eravosa aleha b'chaya. One is married to Rachel, he may not proceed to marry Rachel's sister Leah. Isha lachois lesikach litzra, to make them into tzaras, into joint wives. Legalois eravosa aleha b'chaya. Now the word aleha seems to be superfluous. Aleha matamud loim. What's the point of saying that? To teach us a halacha for a yibum. We have a pasuk, Yevamos yavayaleh. Shimon's brother Reuven dies childless. He's meant to be miyabim, Reuven's wife. What if Reuven's wife happens to be Shimon's daughter? Perhaps even if Reuven's married to any of the arayos, Shimon should proceed and do Yibum? No. Because we have the word Aleha over here, which means by the halacha of Isha Lachaisa, V'nemar lahalan Aleha. And over there by the mitzvah of Yibum, we have Yevamo Yavay Aleha, Ma lahalan Mocha mitzvah, just as over there the word Aleha relates to the concept of mitzvah Yibum. Afkan v'Mocha mitzvah, likewise the word Aleha in the Parsha of Arayos is referring to even a situation which pertains to mitzvah. Even if she's a Yevama, you cannot marry her because she's a sister-in-law. Don't marry. So Achais Isha provides a source, the marker for the entire concept that we learned up until this point. If Yevama happens to be also an erva, there is no Yevama. If ve'enli Elahi, perhaps only the erva herself. Tzarasa minayin. What about the tzara? Tamlema litzroyer. It affects the tzara as well. Ve'enli elat tzarasa. Perhaps only the first tzara. Tzarasa minayin. What about the next level? Tzara. If that tzara married another brother, he had another wife. How do we know everything is affected? Tamlema litzroyer v'lei lotzer. It could have said lotzer. Litzroyer is an extra couple letters for the drasha. It extends all the way down the line. Perhaps this only applies to a sister-in-law, achais isha, which is the context of this pasuk. Sha'ar arayis minayim. What about other arayis? Shimon's daughter, his mother-in-law. Amris. We're going to apply the following formula. We can compare them to achais isha. Ma achais isha miyuchedes. What's unique? How do you characterize achais isha? She's an erva. If there's a isser b'mezid, it brings about kares. If it was done inadvertently, there's a chatas. We also know that she's asr to the yavam, as we just established. We're going to apply this formula to all the other arayos as well. Whoever fits this bill is asr. Af kol she erva, any other araya erva as well that has this has all these elements are asur liyavam, she's asr liyavam. Okay, now you've extended the Isra of Achais Isha by Yibam to the other arayos as well. So Bitoy Yibam is Pater, Chamaisai Pater. What about their Tzara? The Tzara of Bitoy. Perhaps it only applies to the arayos themselves. So we're saying, what about the Tzara of the other arayos? Amris, again we apply the same formula, whatever fits the bill, whatever is comparable to Achais Isha will be connected to Achais Isha, and the same halachas will apply there as well. Machais Isha miyuchedes, just as the Achais Isha is unique in a sense that what? She has all these elements. She's an erva, v'chayav al zayne koris, val shegos achatas, by mezid it's a koris, by shegig it's a chatas, vasur yavam, she's also to the yavam, it's also asur, and affects her tzara as well. Likewise, afkol, she erva, all the other rice as well that have the element of erva, and v'chayav al zayne koris, vashegos achatas, have koris and chatas, vasur yavam, and also have the isur yavam themselves. Not just are they asur, Tzaras Asura, it affects their tzara as well. Mikan Am Chachamim, this is the source of the halacha that we learned in the Mishnah. That Chamesh, Esrei Nashim, all the arayos, irrelevant of who they are, whether it's Achais Isha, Bitay, Chamaisai, they're all Paitrit Tzarasein, Vetzaret Tzarasein, Mina Chalitza, Mina Yibam, Ad Seifa. Asks the Gemara, we're missing 6 arayos in the Mishnah. Mother. I mentioned the Mishnah. Why? Why not? Yachol shanimar ba'av sheish arayos chamuris me'elu sheyu tzarasei masuris. Perhaps we should say that even by those 6 arayos, there's a list of another 6 arayos mentioned in the next Mishnah that are considered chamuris me'elu, the most strict than the 15 mentioned in our Mishnah. In which way are they more strict? Because they're really not meant to marry his brother either. You see, for example, Bitay. Bitay is mutter to Ruvain. Just because she's Shimon's daughter, she's still mutter to Ruvain. And so on and so forth. But let's say Shimon's mother. Is she mutter to Ruvain? They share a father. And she's not really Ruvain's mother. She's Shimon's mother. No, she's Asar Ruvain as well. You know why? Because it's Ruvain's father's wife. Eshes Aviv is Asar. So those 6 are all Asar Ruvain as well. What happens there? if there's another tzara in the picture. Let's say his mother is married to somebody out there, and there's another tzara in the picture. There's another wife there. And that other wife, that other Isha, proceeds to marry Reuven. Reuven passes away. Is she called a tzaras erva to Shimon? No. No, and that's why it's not included in the Mishnah. Why not? Let's see. Yochel shani marber. Perhaps I'm going to add more. Av sheish arois. Even those 6 that are chamurish meila more strict than there was mentioned in the Mishnah. Shiyutzer say masuris. That their tzara should be asur as well. The answer is no. Amris. You know why? Ma achais ishtoi. Because again, what's the source? What provides the precedent for this concept? Achais ishtoi. So you have to take a look at achais ishtoi. Ma achais ishtoi miuchedes. What's unique about her? What's contained therein? What elements does she have? She erva. She's asur on Shimon now, the yavam. V'chayavan al zdoin kares al shigasa chatas. Right, there's kares and chatas. Here comes the punchline. Ve'efsharli nosila ach. Shimon's daughter, Shimon's sister-in-law, Shimon's achayis isha, can get married to Reuven. There's no relationship to Reuven. V'asur yavam. But now that Reuven passes away without children, his wife, who happens to be Shimon's sister-in-law, right, the achayis ishta, his wife's sister, is also to him. Mitzuras asura, and therefore it extends to her Torah as well. Af kol shi erva. Likewise, all arayos that fit the bill, that fit this criteria, that are erva, v'chayav nazdain nekuras, v'ashgas achatas, ve'ev shel nas la'achem. Again, this is the punchline. Who have the ability to marry Shimon's brother. They're mutter to his brother. V'asur liyavam, but they're asur to Shimon. So they're mutter to Reuven, but asur to Shimon. Tzuras asur. Then we say that if Reuven passes away, leaves her behind with another wife nearby, they're both asur. Why? As we explained several times, because when the erva is exempt from yibum, it affects the entire bais, entire household. The other wife is affected as well. And she's no longer considered a Yevamos. What then? She's an ordinary sister-in-law. She's his brother's wife, which is a regular erva. And that's why the tzaras erva is considered an erva by her own right, and she passes that on to the next tzara when she marries the next brother, etc. As opposed to these 6 women, for instance, Shimon's mother, may she get married to Reuven, with whom he shares a father? No. Although it's not really his mother, but it's his father's wife, which is an erva. She's not allowed to marry Reuven. So it never happens that Reuven should leave behind. Reuven should pass away, leaving behind Shimon's mother, together with another wife. It doesn't happen. He's not allowed to marry his mother. He doesn't have kedushin with. It's not effective. The marriage doesn't work. Yotzu sheish arayis chamurish me'el, and therefore, when it comes to these 6 arayis, there's no tzaras erva there. You know why? Hoil the efshel and nasil achim, since they can't get married to any one of Shimon's brothers. Shimon's mother is off the table, off the scene. She's off limits to any of his brothers with whom he shares a father. So it will never happen. It will never occur that any of his brothers, for instance, Reuven, will pass away, leaving behind his mother as a Yevamos together with another wife. It doesn't happen. And therefore, it's saying motoris. There's no concept of tzara. You know why? She'ein tzara elamei ach. Tzara's erva is only applicable when she's a tzara who her brother left behind. Why? So Rashi spells it out for us. Rashi's about 10-12 lines from the bottom. She'ein tzara elamei ach, says Rashi. You know why? Hoylu patra kosem is a kosem. What's the basis for tzaras erva? Where does it come from? There's no new erva called tzaras erva. Rather, it's a very simple equation, very simple process that produces it. Because when the Torah takes off the zika, meaning this requirement for yibum, she reverts to an ordinary sister-in-law. Right, Reuven, Shimon's brother, Reuven left behind this isha. She's a sister-in-law. She's an erva. She had a kid. She's also. She has no children. Oh, she's a Yevamos. But once the Torah takes off, deletes that Yevamos label from her, she's pater from Yibum because she's a tzaras erva. She gets back to the regular isha sach. She bekaris. T'chsiv ervas eishes achicha. Torah says, don't marry the wife of your brother. So unless she's childless, you can't marry her. She's a simple ordinary erva. So that's the mechanics behind the concept of tzaras erva. But typically, if she's not married to his brother, so Shimon's mother is married to a stranger who happens to have another wife nearby, and that other wife leaves that man and marries Reuven, Shimon's brother. There's no problem there. She's not a tzaras erva. She's a stranger. So Reuven passes away without children. She's an Eishes Ach that has no children, which is mutter. She's mutter to him. So again, briefly, the Gemara wanted to suggest that perhaps the concept of tur for tzara, the concept of tzaras erva applies not only to 15 but to the other arayos as well. For instance, Shimon's mother. That the tzara of Shimon's mother should have a din of tzaras erva, and the answer is no. There's no din tzaras erva. Tzaras erva is just another way of saying a sister-in-law who may not be married, a sister-in-law who you may not marry, a sister-in-law without the context of Yibum, with justified marriage. That only happens in one circumstance. If the erva, in this case Shimon's erva, for instance, Shimon's daughter happens to be married to his brother with another wife nearby. Just as Bita is potter, Rachel is potter, Leah is also potter. Now she doesn't have din of Yibum, so what happens? She reverts to the status of an ordinary Eishes Ach, a wife of his brother. That's why she's an erva, because of that reason. Not because she's a tzaras erva. The fact that she's a fellow wife with an erva, that takes away Yibum, as we explained, because once Yibum doesn't apply to one, doesn't apply to the other one. So now once she's no longer Yevama, she's an ordinary sister-in-law, a wife of his brother, which is an erva. But in the other cases, Imai, this wouldn't apply, because she'll never get married to his brother. Imai can't be married to Reuven. Although it's not his personal mother, it's his father's wife. She's also us. So it will never happen that Imai will generate a tzaras erva within the context of Yibum, because she's never a Yibum candidate. Continues the Gemara. Azhara Shaman. Okay, you've told me the Azhara. We found a warning in the Torah. Don't be miyabim an erva. Don't be miyabim the tzaras erva. Oynish minay. What about a punishment? Amakro kikol asher yasim mikol te'evas eva. Torah says whoever commits any of these te'evas, any of these arayos, it generates the oynish of koros and chatas by shegeg. So all included. Says the Gemara. Here comes something interesting. Tama the kasav rachmana aleh. It's pretty clear that if not for the drush of aleh, I would think that even an erva is deserving of yibum. Halav hochi, if not for the pasuk havamina, I would say achois isha mitzvah bemes. An erva gets yibum. Why? She's an erva. My time, and why? I would say the essay of Yibum, the positive commandment that prompts me to do Yibum, will override the Isser of Achos Isha. Ramban says, essay is the positive energy connecting to Hashem. It comes from Avas Hashem. Loisa says, year of fear. I don't want to disconnect. I'm doing something wrong. It's based on the element of fear. Avas, says the Ramban in Parshas Vayisra, is more powerful. Love is more powerful than fear. So essay is going to be stronger than the Loisa essay. Is that what you mean to say? So if not for this pasuk, I would say Yibum overrides the Isra of Erva of Achos Isha. Eimor da amrinan asi essay. Say when do we say that an essay overrides an Loisa essay? Loisa say greater when it's just a plain Loisa essay. But here it's different. Loisa say sheish by karas midachi. Where do you find that an essay can override a Loisa say that contains karas? It's way more severe. So why would I even think? Why would I even entertain the thought that Yibum should override Isra Achos Isha? Now let's just stop for a second. Of course, we know that Yibum overrides the Isra of Eishes Achiv, right? As we just explained over and over, every Yevama really is a Eishes Achiv, which means she's the wife of his brother. But Torah clearly says, go ahead with that. It's not the whole parsha of Yibum. That's not up for discussion. But here we have another element to play with, to work with as well. On top of being a Eishes Achav, the wife of his brother, she's also sister of his wife, a daughter, etc. Why would I even think that Yibum overrides that? In addition, number 2, who even told you? How do you even know that an essay overrides a lois essay? Okay, to be continued, Be'ez Hashem, tomorrow. Okay, let's do a quick brief chazara. The Seder HaMishnah follows the concept of karev koydem. We start with the closest relatives and proceed further away. Karev koydem. We start with the offspring and then go to the other arayas. Why does the Mishnah say poitros tzereseim and achalitzim nayibim? So we concluded the word poitros is telling you that this concept of tzara only applies b'makkah mitzvah when they're both married to a brother. As we explained, the whole concept of tzara is based on the fact that they're both sister-in-laws. So that's the point of poitros. It's in a mitzvah context. Why does the Mishnah mention min chalitza and then min ayibum? To tell you that the chalitza is preferred over yibum. We're following Abba Shol. You have to be careful how to do yibum. Therefore, we advise you to do chalitza first. The number, the minyan in the Mishnah is coming to exclude certain items, whether soitam, ma'enes, islanders, machzor grishosai. They don't qualify. They don't belong in our Mishnah. We don't have the same halachas of our Mishnah. We have the pasuk b'achas isha, which reads lo yisikach litzror legalis arvasa. We learn from there that even b'makam yibum, Allah tells you even makam yibum, an erva is off limits. From the word litzror, we learned that it affects the tzora and the tzora as well, and concluded, of course, the tzora is only when they're in the context, both in the context of yibum, and the tzora will now be renamed as a regular erva, Eishes Achav, in which case she could pass on the issa to her tzora, and that's the rationale behind tzora, etc., etc. We ended with the kasha. Why would you need a pasuk? An erva is not a yibum candidate. Erva is a lois essay. Why would I say that yibum overrides that? And we'll continue Be'ez Hashem tomorrow. All the best to you, my Tatzlacha.